my interview was 4 hours, and a lot of the interviews from my family were 1-2 hours. So there's a lot of time taken up, and they ask detailed questions.
Do you know who else actually took a polygraph test?
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say anything that's going to impede the investigation.
Okay. When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
Welcome to Eden Vale. If you like, subscribe and share.
This is a heartbreaker, absolutely. But what struck me the most, I think, is that I left it with a feeling that the RCMP know more than they're telling us. And I get that. You can't tell the public everything, and the detective staff sergeant, I believe, a major crime fellow, said it very well. I just can't tell you certain things right now. Well, if there's certain things you can't tell, then ultimately there's leads they're following up, in my view.
Okay.
Who, when, where, and why is another issue, but they're on to something.
In today's video, we're going to be discussing the Lily and Jack Sullivan case, the disappearance of these two children from their home in Nova Scotia. Recently, we've had a lot of talk and commentary when we found out the two witnesses, their names, and basically the corroborating information from these two witnesses saying that they had seen vehicles driving around on the street there on Gairloch Road. Now, I'm going to put forward a very simple question. We know pretty much that Lily and Jack are no longer on the property there on Gairloch Road, on Janie's property, where they lived with their mother, Malaya, and their stepdad, Daniel. So the question is, do they have surveillance or video footage showing Lily and Jack leaving their home there or being taken away from the home in connection with this whole disappearance? And making a pretty safe guess, I'm going to say no, that they don't have surveillance of that happening. But it did happen. So you see, it's a pretty simple question. The idea is that we know the kids aren't there unless they are hidden very well somewhere on that property, but there have been many searches. We know that. Now, yes, we have seen other cases, very unusual cases where remains will be found on a property much later. There was one case I remember where remains were found up in the rafters of a home, or I'm not sure if it was an outbuilding or a home, but much later the remains were found up in a roof area. So, unless that is the case, the kids have been taken away from the property. But they have looked at the surveillance that they have available. Now, the investigators, the detectives, they did ask for the public to give them any kind of footage, surveillance, recordings that they have in that area, including the trail cameras. And I recall a few neighbors did come out. There were some trail cameras that we were allowed to see, footage out there in the bushes, whatever, certain areas. But unfortunately, it was not helpful as far as spotting the kids.
Why do you think the police are asking for video dating back, days before that?
Well, the reason for that is they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area, right? Maybe vehicles that were traveling that area a lot over the last few days prior to hand, or vehicles that weren't seen in the area, or vehicles that were seen in the area, like local people that are, making frequent trips past the house, or which it's all considered evidence. I mean, the more pictures and videos is the better.
They say they have hundreds of hours of video. Mm-hmm. Do you know if they found anything on those videos?
I think it was up to 2 weeks ago. They had footage that they examined for evidence that was 8 kilometers diameter out from the house. So that was after a month. That's how long it took to get footage and review it 8 kilometers out. So
But what's on the video?
I don't know. I'm only limited by what they tell me.
The kids were not seen on those trail cameras, and as of this day, there is no footage, surveillance, of those kids leaving the property, other than the footage which shows them the previous day. I believe it was at the Dollarama with Malaya and Daniel. That is a different location, and that confirms that they were alive the day prior.
The kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before this appearance in the afternoon.
But as far as surveillance of those kids leaving the property at the time they're saying, or when they were reported missing, called in as being missing, there is no surveillance. So does that mean that the kids didn't leave? No, it doesn't mean that. Now, recently we've been discussing these 2 eyewitness accounts from 2 different neighbors. We've already gone through it, and most of you know the neighbors said that they spotted lights on that night after midnight and that they saw the car going back and forth. One of these 2 neighbors said that the car belonged to Daniel and that the car was here in this location by the tracks. It turned back. It actually had stopped and turned back, going in this direction after it turned, going towards Lairg Road. Now you'll notice here in the court documents, this is pretty interesting, that they have different things blocked out. And this is really important. There is a reason for them to block out certain information. Here we have one part where they've put it as a personal information block. But this part, this is a V3, and it's called delayed disclosure. So the way I take this is that they're holding their cards very close to the vest, and this part is something where they will disclose it, but they want to delay this information coming out. And that is what happened with the news of these 2 eyewitnesses that spotted the vehicle in the night. They saw the lights, and they could actually hear the movement of the vehicle. They could hear when the vehicle stopped, and then of course it turned around and went in the direction of that road. Next thing you know, we get the news coming out, and they say that the RCMP didn't find any evidence to back up those eyewitnesses, the accounts that they gave. But does that mean that it didn't happen? They didn't find any evidence of any vehicle activity at that time. But they also don't have evidence of Lily and Jack being taken away, either getting into a car on the road, getting into a car on that property, of them walking down the street. We don't have any evidence. We have no surveillance of what happened. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It means that they just don't have the evidence for it. Now, you know, for a trial, they do take eyewitness evidence, and that would be part of a trial, if a trial ever came to be, if there was a prosecution for this case. Now, of course, eyewitness evidence is not perfect, and a lot of times they do make mistakes. I've heard many times where there's cases, so many cases that I've followed, and sometimes you'll have a witness who maybe doesn't have good vision. It could be at night, during the day, whatever. It could be at a distance where they think they saw someone, but it turns out that it was someone else. You get what I mean. Eyewitness evidence is not perfect. People make mistakes. Now, I'm not sure if these guys are correct, but they're both pretty much backing each other up as far as seeing a vehicle in the night at that time after midnight, and one of them says that it was Daniel's vehicle. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see, but I think this is definitely something where the RCMP has to keep this information and look into it more. If somebody was there going back and forth on the road at that time in the early morning hours, that could be very important, considering that there are 2 little kids missing. Now let me know how you all take this, if you think the witness accounts are correct, if these witnesses are trustworthy. We have Daniel saying it just didn't happen. He says his vehicle didn't leave until daylight. So obviously we have contradictory information here. But we're going to have to wait, as I say, until everything unfolds 100%. Another thing Daniel said was that they hadn't told him about the vehicles, that he had to find out afterwards, and they hadn't questioned him about it. But of course, we know the investigators do have to hold the information quite tight. You don't lay everything out on the table. It's a good way of finding out if someone is lying. If you have factual evidence in an investigation, for example, DNA, and a person says that they've never been at a certain location, but you have DNA which proves that yes, they were there, possibly in an intimate way, and they're saying to you, no, they'd never been there and don't know the person. They've never met the person, the victim. They don't know the victim. They've never been in that location. Then the suspect is doing themselves no favor because they've got the factual evidence, which in that case would be DNA.
RCMP have been conducting forensic testing, including on the pink blanket that you mentioned. What can you say about what results came back or what we know about the forensic testing?
Of course, I can't say much about the details because it's part of our investigation and there's a process we go through, and we don't want to put out much information. But we've been working with our National Laboratory Services to have the DNA testing done and to get any type of testing related to this investigation in as timely manner as possible.
So you see that they've got to hold their cards close in order to catch the actual perpetrator, the criminal. Now I noticed that some people are commenting that the police are saying it never happened, that there were no vehicles driving back and forth there that night. But that's not really what they're saying. You've got to understand what they're saying is that they didn't get any evidence. They don't have anything to substantiate it as far as hard evidence. They don't have surveillance. There is no surveillance to show what these 2 witnesses said. But like I said, there's no surveillance of a lot of other things as well. But we know that something definitely happened.
The last few days have been very stressful. I mean, ever since the Friday morning, when we noticed that the children were gone. Immediately jumped in the vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and waited for the police to get there.
In some way or other, those kids were taken away from that property. It's true. It did happen. So lack of surveillance does not mean that the whole thing didn't happen. So if you have someone telling you that they know what happened, that's not the truth. At this point, all we can do is take the information that has been put out there and analyze it as we're doing. So leave me your comments. Let me know what you've heard. I know this case is developing. It seems like just about every day, every couple days, there's something new. There's a new revelation that comes out in this case, and it seems like they are timing this stuff. They have preference to have this information delayed. So they're disclosing it as they want, as they see fit. And this is the way that they can kind of control what's going on. And I'm sure there's more information behind the scenes, which there's pieces moving, which we're not aware of. But it's kind of a hopeful thing that they are still active and trying to figure out what happened to Lily and Jack. Now, I just want to say, as far as opinions, it doesn't matter what my opinion is, and I don't mind if someone has a different opinion than mine. I am not against any of these people, but sometimes I do share my own opinion, and it doesn't mean I'm right, but I like to share my opinion with you guys, and I see a lot of you also are sharing in the comments, and that's fine, because I guess you could say we're brainstorming together. As we have been given a load of information with these court documents, it's just tons and tons of pages to read. with the hidden bits which have been blocked over. So you kind of have to guess at a lot of stuff. But my own opinion, what's going on here, they are definitely taking this case very seriously.
Now we continue on with our investigative work. Nothing stopped from the second day of this investigation when major crime took carriage and began collating and sorting and organizing the information and planning the investigation. We haven't stopped. We've talked with a number of people. We've got over 1,000 taskings that we're still creating new ones and developing new areas to gather information from. We've reviewed over 8,000 videos, thousands of hours of video from the area, and we've done an extensive ground search using both technical capabilities, partner agencies, GSAR, DNR, to as thoroughly as we possibly can search the area around the home and those other areas that I mentioned. And if we continue to gather information, make decisions based on that, and if those information suggests that we need to do more searching, we will.
So the investigation hasn't let up since May 2nd?
No, it has not let up, and it won't. This is not something that we stop working on. We've got 2 young children, Lily and Jack, who've gone missing from their home, and it is a Missing Persons Act investigation still at this time. But we need to find answers to that. There's a lot of legitimate public concerns about how 2 children go missing and we can't find them, so we're going to continue until we have answers.
Whoever committed this crime, if this is a crime, it does involve both of these kids. And so it's very important that they find whoever did this. It's most likely a very dangerous person who could harm Lily and Jack because they're so innocent. How could you harm 2 innocent children? Just look at them. They're not dangerous. They're not going to put anyone in danger. You have to wonder, whoever it is that caused their disappearance is the one that they've really got to catch. So once again, please leave me your comments and we will discuss this some more. Have a look at my community tab. I did put up a poll asking for your opinion, and it's interesting to see where people are at, what people are thinking. Again, for those of you that are on Daniel's side or that think that Daniel is innocent, that's fine. I also thought that he was innocent at the beginning, and now I have to tell you the truth, I have some suspicions, so it's not up to me. All I can do is honestly look at what we have been given as far as information and then just sift through it. And I'm trying to at times be honest with you, sharing my opinion. And you can go ahead as well and share your opinion. If you think Daniel is innocent, that's fine. We are not here prosecuting the case. We're just looking at stuff and discussing it. I look forward to reading your comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and please take a moment to subscribe, turn on the bell so that you don't miss out on the next video, and I look forward to having you back as soon as possible. Bye for now.
Everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know what happened. It's been from sadness to anger at this point. And I know the RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock trying to piece everything together, and I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question, 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the woods, and where are they?
Did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you?
Of course. The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning.
You felt that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you don't feel that now?
No, I don't feel that at all. I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them do drug tests, because there's a lot of rumors online about a drug party. Mm-hmm. I know the person that said those rumors, and it was just to take the heat off themselves.
Was there any kind of party?
No.
Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party?
No.
There were no people at the house?
No. Not the night before.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, they did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, "Yep, great, thank you. Come in for a polygraph test."
Yeah, it took a little while to set up, and
When did you do that test?
Oh, I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I think most Canadians wouldn't have any idea what's involved with that. Can you describe the process? You go in and just tell us right from the start.
We go in, sit down in a big comfy chair, and they have multiple sensory pads. You have them underneath your forearms, you have them underneath your butt, and you have them underneath your feet with your shoes off. You have a sweat gland on one finger. You have a measuring instrument for blood flow that goes in and out of your hand. And you have a cuff on your arm for blood pressure to measure your pulse.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them. Just, it's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof, and your body doesn't know what to do, because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive.
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere?
No.
The police have done a number of polygraph tests. They've done 53 formal interviews. Do you know who these people are?
Yeah.
That's a lot of interviews.
It is a lot of interviews. A lot of them are my family, people that live in the area. And those interviews, typically, my interview was 4 hours. And a lot of the interviews from my family were 1-2 hours. So there's a lot of time taken up, and they ask detailed questions.
Do you know who else actually took a polygraph test?
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say anything that's going to impede the investigation.
Okay. When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
No, that was really when I seen the turning point for it starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malaya has taken one?
I don't know if I can say it, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No. RCMP weren't allowed to tell me I asked.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lily and Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know that you can share, that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before this appearance in the afternoon.
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malaya, and Meadow, and Lily and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do. I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So, for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before the disappearance.
Why do you think the police are asking for video dating back, days before that?
Well, the reason for that is they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area, right? Maybe vehicles that were traveling that area a lot over the last few days prior to hand, or vehicles that weren't seen in the area, or vehicles that were seen in the area, like local people that are, making frequent trips past the house, or which it's all considered evidence. I mean, the more pictures and videos is the better.
They say they have hundreds of hours of video.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if they found anything on those videos?
I think it was up to 2 weeks ago, they had footage that they examined for evidence that was 8 kilometers diameter out from the house. So that was after a month. That's how long it took to get footage and review it 8 kilometers out. So
But what's on the video?
I don't know. I'm only limited by what they tell me.
How often are they in touch with you?
Investigators now, I'd say maybe once every 5 days. And usually I'm the one who calls or messages them.
And how has that changed over the course of the 6 weeks?
Well, from the beginning it was almost daily, tapering off to where it's only like once every 5 days now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good and bad. I mean, I like to talk to them in person about any little small details I come up with, or anything I can try to bring to their attention which may help the investigation. So I don't get to see them often, so it's always over phone or messaging, and it's hard to really convey what you want to say when you're not in person. But then I also know the eye's not on me. The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I've already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my GPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up right from the
Yeah, I
beginning.
offered everything.
And why were you doing that?
To show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. A lot of speculation is, you killed the kids. We'll just come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama, that's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lily and Jack. And that's been really tough, going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, your family's ripped apart and you're left alone.